but she's found herself. Like she's become more powerful. She's settled into herself. She's absolutely formidable with stuff. She has a extremely strong power set. The writers have not known what to do with her so much. They keep sticking her in teams. She's dated the Beast. You know, she's she's just done a bunch of stuff, and she's a very powerful figure. They just don't know what to do with her, and it's a shame because I think in the right situation she could absolutely be right up there with your panorama of X-Men, which she is still, I believe. I don't know. I don't know what happens when you leave the X-Men. Do you get like a ring? Do you get like a little badge or a trophy, like a clock? I don't know what happens when you leave the X-Men. This is the thing that we have. Thank you for being a part of our team. Congratulations. Here's your memento. Off you go.
Graduated.
Yeah. here's your souvenir mug, and off you go. But
congratulations, you survived.
Right. But she's like,
so you really didn't, because you died how many times? I don't know.
You get a gold star. You get that level up. But she's also like, she keeps showing up in background things. So you'll see her, like, she had a very small cameo, no words, no lines, but she had a very small cameo in the Dark Phoenix movie. She had, in one of the X-Men movies. Halston Sage is a great visual.
Even though it was such a small cameo, the visuals in the Dark Phoenix movie of her powers were kind of cool.
They were, and I would have liked to have seen, obviously, that expanded on. All of the Dazzler fans out there would have loved to have seen a little bit more. We have all mentally cast Dazzler in our heads. Right now, I think it's kind of a tie between Lady Gaga and Kylie Minogue as like who should play Dazzler on screen if it ever happens. I still think there's room for you to come out and really make it happen. But that's a whole other discussion. But she's absolutely been one of those characters that was created and has had this long presence that people don't realize how much she's influenced. Like, she'll be referenced in comics, like, oh, I just got the new Dazzler album, or I just left the Dazzler concert. They'll name drop here and there. In one of the X-Men movies, Scott Summers pulls out, the latest Dazzler album, Songs of Light and Fury. She's a legacy character that just doesn't have a consistent storyline that has any length whatsoever. Alison Blair's outfits. Disco Dazzler had a white silver jumpsuit. She had mirrored boots. She had mirrored gauntlets. She had a mirrored collar. Blue kiss eye makeup.
Because wait. What decade was she from? Was she from the 40s?
This would have been the late 70s, early 80s. So
no. Are you sure she's not from like the 1700s?
You would think, but with all that glitter and glam, nah, definitely the 70s. And then as she got into like the end of the 80s, from the 70s into the 80s, then she ended up in this, what I call her blue ninja aerobics outfit, which is this blue one like Sentai suit thing with one sleeve cut off, and she's got like a little short glove thing going on here, a red headband. It's a very weird time for fashion in the Marvel universe. And then since then, she's had like this punk outfit where she's been in like this chopped up like dress. She's had a tank top. She's cut her hair. She's had this starburst crotch thing, which I don't even know what's going on there. She's been an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So her costumes alone have kind of put her up there with Janet Van Dyne and the Wasp with like the amount of fashion that she's had to go through. My personal favorite is still her Extreme X-Men look, which I think brought all the pieces together of everything. That's a personal functionality.
Everyone's like, let's just put this all in a box and just throw it all together.
Yes, her costumes are like her character. But here's the thing. This is the hardest thing for Dazzler. I think this is where they fell down. Like, they created this great character with this great power set and this great personality and this great backstory. And they gave her powers that you can't translate on a comic book page. Light and sound. You can't put that on a comic book page. So I think that's where people don't know what to do with her, is that you've given her these powers that don't really do well in 4-color. So you have to, you have to put like musical notes around it when she's singing. You have to put these big, dynamic sunbursts and light like circles to make it seem like it's lit up. So she doesn't translate well, and I think that's also like maybe one of the points that makes it hard to get her into the comics is because great power set, and it was designed for a movie, but on the page, kind of literally falls a little flat. So I think that's part of it. But if she had been in a movie, there was actually a full treatment made for the movie.
Yes, let's talk about this.
This is the most like bananas shit ever. Like BANAS. Absolutely bonkers. Jim Shooter, who's the big, tall editor-in-chief at Marvel for years, he actually he wrote the script for the Dazzler movie, and he put it in his blog not too long, a few years ago, maybe 8 years ago, and I read it, and I want this to be made because it is insane, and I have to see it made. So, like, anybody who's like, if you have cosplays for any of these characters, I need you to like talk to me down in the comedy.
Let's do this.
Yes, do this. So
down there, that's where it goes. Let's do this.
This is the treatment right here. This is the 11 pages of script, which actually came back to Jim Shooter, and they said, yeah, we need a little bit more because you wrote it as sort of a half-hour thing. We need an actual full-length movie. They actually were going to give it to a different Hollywood writer because Jim Shooter was just a comic book writer, so couldn't actually write scripts. I think now...
I love that now they realize that the comic book writers are like, write your own check. Like, yeah,
pretty much.
You could print your own money with the comic book writers, but back then, no.
Not so much. And to be fair, reading through this, I'm not sure I would have given him any money either. But again, Dazzler came out of Casablanca Records, so they had their stable of stars that they wanted their voices and their stable of stars to be on film. So they had to be included, plus whoever was hot at the time. So the cast of characters for the movie that at the time was titled New York, New York, or A Tale of Two Cities. Subtitled A Marvel Comics, Casablanca Records, and Filmworks Extravaganza. Apparently Jim Shooter wrote this.
Extravaganza, take all my money.
Yes, exactly. Apparently he wrote this in a weekend, and you can tell. I have nothing but love for Jim Shooter, but this thing is just like, as we get into it, you will understand. So, Cher as the Witch Queen, Donna Summer as the Queen of Fire, Kiss, all the members of Kiss, Robin Williams, Rodney Dangerfield playing 4 roles, the Village People, and Lenny and Squiggy. And then, of course, Dazzler and the Amazing Spider-Man and the Avengers as themselves. You have pretty much got right here, just looking at the cast alone, this is a nightmare. This is like, how is this even happening? So Rodney Dangerfield in 1 role is enough. You do not need him in 4 separate roles. No, not even going to happen.
Or do you?
Or do you? Is this something we've been missing? Have we actually needed 4 Rodney Dangerfields? I don't know.
I mean, it's 2020. I feel like maybe this would save 2020.
Essentially, basically, what you get down to is that you've got the Witch Queen and you've got Cher and Donna Summer basically against each other. And Robin Williams in between has been their love that they both loved and lost. And
I would watch the fuck out of that.
Even right just with those 3 characters. Then you've got rodney Dangerfield, who's playing a lawyer. And he's playing, 3 lawyers, Chewie, Tatum, and Hal. So, So he's playing 3 separate lawyers who are keeping track of Tristan. Basically, the Avengers and Spider-Man and Dazzler are all sucked into this alternate universe. And they come into it, and it's like, one of these magical moments. She's on stage, and it's all this magic and all of her lights and everything, and all of a sudden this bright light happens, and she vanishes. And everybody thinks it's part of the show, but it's not. because her backstage crew is going, where'd she go? And the same thing happens to Spider-Man, well, Peter Parker, because he's getting on the train with Mary Jane. And then the Avengers all vanish from the kitchen, and Jarvis is like, oh dear. So they all get sucked into this alternate universe. And Dazzler's being told that she's the Sun Queen, and she's the one that's supposed to bring peace to this alternate universe where it's New York in an entirely different timeline. Like,
how much cocaine was involved?
I don't know. It's several bottles of tequila at least. And so they were like, they're not even riding horses, they're riding lizard horses and or unicorns.
Lizard horses?
Lizard horses. Lizard horses.
Lizard horses. You have to get lizard horses.
Lizard horses.
That's stupid and so fantastic.
And then Robin Williams falls in love with Dazzler, and Dazzler's just like, I'm no Sun Queen, but apparently it's prophesized, so I've got to go ahead and go forward with it. The Lord of Chaos says that I've got to be the Sun Queen, and I'm supposed to bring peace to this whole realm. And then, so you've got the Dread Knights that are which is basically Kiss, and then the Village People, who are like the other like witch queens, like the other queens, like army, and they've given them powers. And I'm going to read these powers because in case you didn't know that Kiss had powers, it feels like a Scooby-Doo mystery. You know, some of this stuff where you're just like, what? I don't even know what's going on. So Kiss, as I'm flipping through this 11-page script, which is there's a lot going on here. So you've got Iron Man, you've got the Falcon, you've got the Scarlet Witch, you've got the Beast, and you've got the Wasp. Those are the members of the Avengers that make it through. There are ferocious battles, the kinds of things that you only dream about. The World Trade Center is mentioned, so obviously that's not going to happen. So Gene Simmons, the Demon, super strength, ability to breathe fire. Paul Stanley, the Star Child, fires rays from his starred eyes. Ace Frehley, the Space Ace, can teleport short distances and pass phantom-like through solid objects. Peter Criss, the Cat, has cat-like agility and speed. So it kind of makes sense for Kiss. But then they've defined the superpowers for the Village People. In case you wanted to know what those were, I'm going to share them.
Please.
Yes, please. The motorcycle cop has a nightstick that's charged with crackling energy. The construction worker has a jackhammer that can create small earthquakes. The cowboy twirls an unbreakable lasso that he controls as if it were alive. The Indian has a tomahawk that can cut through anything. The GI has a sidearm that fires mystic, fiery, laser-like blasts. And the Leatherman, because now it's getting weird, the Leatherman is super strong and wields an unbreakable chain. So those are your music supergroup powers.
Now it's getting weird.
Big giant battle at the end, and at the very, very end of it, Dazzler realizes that really everybody's been played against each other's because the Lord of Chaos is actually yet another Rodney Dangerfield, and he's been just trying to sow like all this awful stuff and everything, and everybody should be friends. So she like pulses out this huge light thing that and everybody who's battling stops and they look and they all relax and they're like, oh dude, cool, we love each other, and everything just kind of calms down from there, and they all love each other, all friends again, and they all get zapped back to their original universe. And then Robin Williams, who was a love interest, he's like, no, but I really, really love you, Dazzler. And Dazzler's like, yeah, no, it's a little weird. So bye-bye. So Robin Williams behind with a giant flower. So that needs to happen. I'm just saying right now.
That's amazing.
That's a lot. Like,
that's horrible and amazing.
I need actual lines. I need an actual like dialogue piece written out for this. And I need to have this actually filmed and get it down to like maybe 40, 45 minutes for YouTube. But it's so fantastic. It's so just over the top. I feel like I need like members of RuPaul's drag race to come in and just be like, I need my Cheers, I need my Donna Summers, and I need like all my, like I know people that do Kiss tribute. I'm looking at you, Ruby. I need people that can be the Village People. I need just random.
This needs to happen.
This, I feel like, needs to happen. I think it would be an homage to my girl Allie, who has been so like. And can you imagine the cult status this movie would have now? Like,
oh my god!
This would
We
be up there.
like, okay, when this video drops, we need to tag everyone in it because this shit needs to happen.
This is
I need this. 2020 needs this to happen.
This is 2020. Like, really? Like, if this happened, I think right now 2020 would be just like, all right, sure, let's do that. Because everything else that's happened this year, that is going to be the best part of it.
I feel like this would heal 2020.
I think it might.
Like,
I think it,
oh.
yes, it would be like, oh, let's all bring ourselves together in something that is so bonkers, bananas, ape shit that let's just make this happen. So, yes. So that was the Dazzler movie that was supposed to happen with Bo Derek.
That is amazing.
Despite even though Bo pulled out because they wouldn't, like, her husband, who was supposed to direct, was not great, and that was not going to happen, and they lost all their funding. That movie alone probably would have been right up there with Ishtar in terms of like major box office disasters, like, or it would have gone straight to VHS. And then we would have had to wait for some weird special edition, or it would have been like the Star Wars Christmas special, where it's like
where everyone pretended it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, but no, it happened. But then I look back on other stuff and I'm like, really? There was some other stuff that happened in the 70s, early 80s. That's a little bit suspect. So I think this probably could have happened too, and we would have just rolled with it. And Kiss has done something similar as superheroes on Scooby-Doo. So really, it's really not that outrageous a concept.
It's happened.
Yeah. So that is the bonkers bananas Dazzler movie that never happened.
That is amazing.
Now, if it had happened, it would have changed the entire course of her, obviously her whole comic backstory and her bio and her future in comics. And I think she would have actually been cut a lot shorter as a character. I think they would have just killed her off one time and been like, all right, that's it. We don't need to bring her back. So
we're done with this disco queen.
This disco queen is, yes, queen, no queen, bye-bye. But I think because she missed that movie, because that didn't happen, I think that actually ended up helping her, because now she's managed to have 40-year career bouncing between teams. Granted, it's not been a solid career, but she is such a part of the Marvel universe where she has, mentioning her poster, she's one of those characters that her poster is up on kids' walls, in those little blocks on comics. She sang at North Star's wedding, when he married his partner. She's just one of those characters that's just always there, and I think she's a little underutilized. I think her doing the X-Men Extreme 12-issue miniseries was kind of a boost for her, which was great because it really showed her as a leader in a power position, and that jumping timelines is never easy. But I figure if you've lived in the Mojoverse for any length of time, really your brain is a little warped. And she's still trying to maintain, despite it all, her what would be considered a weird thing for her. Like, this is how you're different. This difference. You're a mutant. You're a mutant with powers. That's weird. She still tried and held on as much as possible to maintain that she wants to live a normal life. She wants to be a singer. Right. This is what she wants to do. She has done it successfully. She's lost some stuff because of it as well. But I think that in reflection for anybody who's doing something that's different and is trying to be true to their own selves, their one true self, I think she can be sort of a hero for those people because she's continued despite the adversity, and she's faced, I think, the same types of discrimination and the same types of attacks that people from any group that's marginalized and feels that they're not able to be their one true self. And I think that's what attracted me to her in the beginning, was because she's this, I had to quote Beyonce, but I'm going to quote Beyonce. She's a survivor. She's she doesn't give up, and she's always true to her passion, and her passion has nothing to do. She's born to be an artist. Has nothing to do with mutant abilities, the X chromosome, whatever. It's got nothing to do with any of that shit. it has to do with the fact that that's her passion and that's what she wants to follow. And follow the Village People and Kiss and whoever else comes along. But she has been tossed around from team to team, and I feel like the right writer, and she's had some great writers, and that's the problem, is that she's had some good writers, and even the good writers, like, and artists have not really been able to get her more than just a one shot here and there. But I'd love to see her back in full power, full action, because she's super powerful. She's got this mad history, and she's got the connections. Like, it's not like people don't know who she is. She's a public out there mutant, and she's living her best life and trying to do the best she can with it. She was part of A-Force when they did the whole, like, oh my god, the whole the whole worlds thing where everybody was the different Thor worlds. Dr. Doom was controlling the whole thing. You needed a whole map to keep track of it. It was a whole big giant mess. Strange Worlds?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll come to me. There have been beverages, so I forget what it's called.
That's the beauty of drunk comics.
Yes. Here would be the drunk comics. There was this thing that they did, and they did a thing. But she actually, they're the enforcers or the cops within this whole universe were all based on Thor. So you had this Thor force, essentially. And there was a Dazzler Thor. And Dazzler Thor was great. She died. Dazzler keeps dying. But Dazzler Thor was phenomenal. She was sweet and very dedicated to what she was still true to herself, even as other guys. They keep using her, but not, I think, to her best abilities. And I wish I had the answer. I wish I was a writer or an artist who could say, oh my God, she totally needs to do this and that, and that would be the way to go with her. But she's just become this to some degree an activist, and she is. You'll see it a lot of times at conventions. This is what I love. And the artists have commented on this as well, the artists and writers, that when you go to a convention, a lot of the Dazzler cosplayers are actually LGBT cosplayers, or they're there in drag. That's her core fan base. Those are a lot of the followers are from there. And we didn't even talk about the roller skates. Oh my gosh, her first costume, she had magnetic roller skates that she would pop onto the bottom of her mirrored boot.
That's perfect.
Every time I see a cosplayer on skates, I'm like, oh my God, please don't die. Please don't die.
I've seen that.
And it's one more thing on this costume, because this costume didn't have enough going on already. Let's stick some roller skates on there.
Also, it's very fitting that it's very fitting that she has a huge LGBT fan base, because the whole reason disco is dead is because a lot of disco fans were LGBT people, and they were going to disco clubs, and then people stigmatized it because a lot of people in the LGBT community liked disco and disco clubs, and then they were like, oh, well, that's gay. And then they stigmatized it, and that's kind of why disco got the stigma that it did. And then it got the stigma that it did, and then it got basically killed. And it's interesting that Dazzler kind of embodies that, and I just love that comics kind of mirrors art, or not mirrors art, mirrors real life. I can go.
And she had to, I mean, honestly, she was already committed to paper, and then disco died, so they actually lost the disco part of Disco Dazzler, and she became just Dazzler. So they tried to be trendy. This is one of those heroes that was created for marketing reasons and for trend reasons, and I'm sure would have had like 10,000 toy tie-ins if things had actually gone in the direction that it was meant to go in. But she just missed that opportunity. She missed that wave, and I think on one hand, I think it was to her benefit, because she did not get swallowed up in the loss of disco and get regulated to like the Rainbow Raider and all these other very small one-off heroes and villains that people will make fun of for years. They continue to make fun of her. Don't get me wrong. They will make fun of my girl, Allie. But,
They're wrong.
She's managed. They're wrong. They are so wrong. And she's also managed to endure for 40 years. I mean, that says something about her character and her backstory and the people she's hung out with and the people that, sometimes it is who you know. And when you know the X-Men and the Avengers and you can hold your own against Galactus and you can hold your own against the Hulk and the Enchantress and Dr. Doom.
Most of the X-Men and Avengers can't even hold their own against Galactus. So, all right. So, is there anything else you want to tell me about the comic?
I think if you've never read Dazzler, there are omnibuses that you can pick up to read through, and she's certainly shown up in enough other incarnations and just within X-Men storylines and over time.
Also, she is more than just the bitch that shows up and tries to get with Cyclops when he's with Jean Grey.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
If you only know the animated version, there's a little bit more going on there.
I even knew that, even though that was my main experience with her. I knew that.
And that's the thing, is that everybody comes at it from a different angle, and she's been made fun of for so many years, like literally 40 years. She has been Marvel's embarrassment. She's been Marvel's, what do we do with her? And I would like them to get amazing. She's so powerful, and she's got so much, and I'm the same way with Amethyst. Amethyst actually, as part of Gemworld, carries some of the biggest power in the DC universe, and people neglect.
You need to come back and talk about Amethyst.
Oh, we could talk about Amethyst. We can talk about my 15-year-old Amy Winston for hours. Another character that's
going to be another episode.
That can happen. But if you don't know Dazzler, do the research. Go back and look at her backstory. Look at the Wikipedia. Remember that she's coming out of an era that, just keep your perspective, is that she was born in an era where disco was dying, and she was trying to play off of that. She came a little too late, and they've tried to do everything they can with her since then. They just haven't found the right mix yet. But I think it'll happen. I have faith in the Marvel people who are watching, all of you.
MCU.
Yes, exactly. She's my girl, and she needs to do better than what she's got. But give her a chance. Don't just make fun of her. Go back and read her stories. Read the stories. Look at the art. Understand where she's coming out of. I mean, she's hung out with the Eternals. She's hung out with the Avengers. She's hung out with the X-Men. Super powerful. Super cool. Allie Blair is her name. Don't you forget it.
Yes. Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. This was fun. And I have a bunch of dead soldiers over here to prove
it. Cheers to that. Fake clink.
Clink, clink. All the clinks.
All the clinks. All right.